Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. As I said in a previous video, 2023 has been absolute fire when it comes to exciting game releases, and Spider-Man 2 is no exception. It's probably going to be one of the biggest and most successful games of the year, and there's no shortage of reasons why that would be. Of course, the high quality storytelling and writing here is back in action. We got two Spider-Man lead heroes to deal with this time, and they both get an equal measure of screen time, which is no small feat to achieve. I of course won't go into any detail to avoid spoilers, but there are a lot of heartfelt moments in individual character arcs and the relationship between Peter Parker and Miles Morales, and between their different friends, families, relationships, and whatnot. It's all really fascinating stuff, and it tackles a bunch of different ideas all at the same time. Maybe a bit too much, but it's all really interesting stuff as far as I'm concerned. And indeed, there's quite a wide range of cast for heroes, side characters, and friends, but there's also quite a lot of villains that are packed into this game. And the quality of these villains work to varying degree, once again without going to spoilers, but I'm sure everyone's heard by now, Venom does make an appearance in this game, and it is quite a unique take on it. I do think it is quite terrifying, fascinating, but of course it won't come to spoil that, hey, this guy's actually kind of a villain, not really a good guy. So yeah, in terms of surprises, that's probably not going to make the biggest impact. But what I do think makes a big impact in this game is the cinematic quality, not in the cutscenes themselves, but how it's merged into the gameplay and the action. I love the chain sequences of one scripted event after another, just this explosive roller coaster ride that just doesn't seem to end. It is some truly engaging and visceral action that will be very hard to top in this year. And to add on top of all that excitement, you get a bunch of new cool abilities in this game, which I will not spoil, but they're all quite awesome to use. And it does help with some surprisingly challenging gameplay. Not that this is a Dark Souls, of course, but even on normal difficulty, if you slouch around, you're gonna get your ass handed to you. This goes doubly so for some of the boss fight encounters you'll have, which once again, there's quite a large panoply of villains that you're gonna be fighting in this game. Once again, it is all very exciting stuff, and these boss fights are gonna be major highlights in this year of gaming. And I must say, with all the detail, the action, the speed at which the action happens, the variety of events that happens, it really is a fantastic looking game, from the cutscenes to the gameplay to the smooth 60 frames per second that you have on performance mode, even running at 4K. The whole game runs as clean as a whistle, it's butter smooth, and there are barely any bugs to speak of, except for some very minor and rare moments. Now, if I had to push back and be a little bit critical of the game, it's not a game that reinvents the wheel, not that it necessarily needed it, but a lot of the filler open world content is back. There are some new activities which are cute, and I do like some of the mini games that are added. It does help add a bit of variety, and after doing one or two of these individual activities, I kind of want to skip the rest of them. I just don't have any intrinsic motivation to go do them apart from the achievement, which is not enough for me. And as far as the story goes, I do enjoy it for the most part, but seeing as there's so many parallel narratives going on at the same time, it does drag the pacing a bit, and rather than fully fleshing out an individual narrative arc, it does feel like some of them aren't quite as worked out as nicely as they could have been. But I think my biggest issue with the game would be, once again, in terms of the pacing, but more in terms of the gameplay. For the most part of the game, I think you're fighting these very spongy AI that just never seem to end. It feels like within an individual mission, there's one or two waves of enemies too many. Like, I kind of feel like I'm getting exhausted, but that's within one individual mission, and it kind of gets replicated throughout every other single mission for the rest of the game, and really it feels like quantity just keeps ramping up, and that's not necessarily to its benefit. I do feel like I was getting a bit exhausted from the button mashing gameplay, but at the very least, it is all very engaging and exciting to do. And even though I do feel that repetition and some of these more stale elements are there, I do feel that the game manages to find this interesting sweet spot of adding a bunch of new ideas in terms of like an interesting narrative context, interesting exotic gameplays, and those mini games that are sprinkled and peppered throughout the game in interesting ways. So it is a game that manages to stay fresh and exciting all the way through. It is really quite a roller coaster ride of twists and turns, and it is all so much fun to do. So yeah, this is a great game. I'm ranging anywhere between an 8 and an 8.5 out of 10. Yeah, if only all AAA games could come out with this level of quality and polish on launch. And I also appreciate the fact that it's not too long of a game. It took me, like 15 hours or so to finish the story with some of the side content, and I still have plenty to do for that. Once again, this sets a very high standard of what AAA games should be. Yeah, this is an easy game to recommend. And as far as we're talking about Marvel storylines, this is probably going to be the best Marvel story that we're going to get in 2023. Yeah, Insomniac game just proves once again that they're one of the best in the business. I can't wait to see what they do with the Wolverine game that they tease. That should be very exciting. I'd be excited for a Spider-Man 3, which they have hinted at would be a thing. And I'm curious to see what else is cooking under the hood. Take your time, guys. You're doing an amazing job. So with all that being said, wishing you and your loved ones nothing but the best. Take care and talk to you soon.